Oh yeah. Okay, now we're going live. You're live. Wonderful. Phew. Sorry about that. Yeah. There should be a pair of green lips. For now? Yeah? Okay, wonderful. That's good. Oh my god. Okay. Nice. Um, 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 um. Yeah, exactly. La di da di da 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 da. I'm not exactly sure if our audio that we're talking right now is going out or not, so maybe we could just like casually segue into the actual conversation, as it's anyway 5 minutes past 7. So I'm just going to change the setting on. Okay, okay, so we're there. Okay, I'm going over. Okay, and it's official. Hello and welcome to the first edition of One Take Records presents XANADUNE Update Jammer in conversation with Lil Data. Lil Data. With me, your host, Greta Eckert from the One Take Records. For everybody out there, this is our first edition, so you're quite privileged to experience this. Exactly. And without further ado, I'm going to pass over to our very special guests this evening, who will carry on the conversation. And do not forget, there is a chat box in YouTube, so you can communicate with us if you wish. To the listeners out there. Yes, I'm here. Yes, I did catch that. I'm not sure why that's happening. Okay. Can you speak? Yeah. Oh no. Um. Um. I'm on. The conversation is going through Mozilla Firefox. Um. No, on a Mac. Yeah. I thought it should work because when you play like a video from Firefox, you hear the audio in OBS. Yeah. Yeah, let me see about that. I can say media source or browse. I mean, I'm using like display source. Oh yeah, maybe I should use window source. Or there's browser source or window capture, but maybe I should use browser source then actually, sorry. Yeah. Uh-oh. Audio input capture. Could that be something? Let me see what's... Yeah. Is there... Sorry, I thought it was working, but obviously it's not. Is there a simpler way to do this? Not using OBS, that we can just... like, I don't know, like even a phone call out loud into a microphone or something. Yeah. Should we try that? Okay. I'll unplug my headphones. And I'm sorry about this, guys. Just to say. Okay. Well, I'm gonna unplug my headphones. In 1 second. Okay. Hello.
Hey. Just. Alright, so there's a bit of a delay on the YouTube, so let's see.
The sound. Ooh, I think the sound's going through. Great. It's just... It sounds pretty good. Yeah, it's not too bad, actually. Okay, nice. Well, should we pick up from where we started?
Yeah, probably we should start again.
Start again, please. Thanks. Sorry, everybody listening. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. That's from me, Greta, who's organising it, and this is my first time doing a live stream, so of course there's some problems, but here we go.
Here we go.
Nice. We'll try again.
Yes.
Okay, so Jack, the thing I said was that like obviously I guess the main thing to like start with or point out with your work is your connection to like live coding and coding sounds. And I asked how you how it came to be that coding like became your main compositional tool, I guess, for creating computer music, and how you found your way into the live coding scene, if you're part of the live coding scene. I don't know that.
Yeah.
Questions. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for starting us off with that question. So yeah, I'm pretty sure my first encounter with it was around 2012, which was the 2012, 2013. That was when actually me and Greta were in our final year of study at Leeds University, and there was a new guy who joined the faculty at Leeds called Alex McLean, and he's the creator of a programming language called Tidal Cycles. And he joined because he just finished his PhD, I think, and he had a postdoctoral position at Leeds. And I didn't really know him or speak to him, but I just saw him like hiding around in the school sometimes, and I didn't really know like what he did. But he played a show in Leeds, I think. So I got to see him perform with Tidal Cycles, and he was sitting on the floor, like with his shoes off, like in the crowd, with his keyboard and stuff, and he was typing words like GABA or something, like the names of different sounds, and then he was just creating these patterns which were so rich in terms of like timing and rhythm and patterns, and there was like hardly any text on the screen, and it was just like completely mind-blowing for me. And at that point in my life, I was really lacking in kind of musical inspiration. I think I'd burnt out on audio workstation software, and wasn't really having fun making music anymore. And that was like when I first got into making music, I was about 14, and it was just like pure fun. Made lots of very terrible but really fun music. Fun to make, not to listen to actually, but so yeah, I kind of lost the fun with traditional music making tools, and then I saw this live coding thing, and I was like, wow, I have to learn that. And it took me like 3 or 4 years before I think first of all it took me like a couple of months to even install the software. And I know that people still have trouble with that today, so that's why I like to mention that even when I started, it took a long time just to understand how to install the software. And then I played my first gig in December 2015, 14, in a venue in Dalston in East London called Power Lunches, which is sadly no longer existing. Rest in peace, Power Lunches. And I was absolutely terrible. I was so bad, like I was so like terrified and nervous, and I couldn't even, I wasn't like improvising anything or like even making very good music at all. It was just like some really basic stuff, and I was just like sweating, and like I felt like I was gonna melt or something. So it was kind of like, in a way, like a really horrible experience, but that kind of decreased over time, and then I got more kind of like fluent, I guess, with like not just making weird complex stuff, because in a way, that's the easiest thing to do with live coding, is to just type in a bunch of numbers and then some crazy stuff comes out. And that's really exciting, but I really wanted to, join up that world with like pop and dance music and music that I was like enjoying in a live context or like with friends, because at that point I already had the first release that I did on PC Music as Lil Data was this EP called Sup, and that was all made before I'd really learned live coding, but I wanted to kind of like continue developing that sound but with the live coding. So it took a long time to like do that, but it was a good project, like a good kind of context in which to like develop the skills, because it was always like the goal was to make something that could fit onto a normal lineup, because you mentioned like the algo rave scene, which is a really unique and like precious community, I think, and just completely different to how like dance music scenes work in a lot of ways that are really kind of fresh. But I also like wanted to play on lineups where there was no live coding, or like I wasn't being invited because of live coding. It was just wanted to hear my music. So I always tried to like have those two worlds to play in, and that kind of is what has driven like the development of what I've been doing with live coding. So making remixes of like really like simple pop songs and stuff, using live coding is like it's really fun, but it's also in a way it kind of represents what I've been trying to do with it, and I don't really know what will happen with it next. I think I'm ready to like destroy it, or like destroy my practice again in the same way that I did 8 or 9 years ago. So
to me also like not being that familiar with live coding, but like checking some stuff out, of course, now that I'm looking into your work, it also seems to me that like the coding, or like the coding aspect of the music is also as much an like aesthetic or aesthetic as it is the tools that you use for making the computer music. It like plays a huge part in the like the visual output of the artist. So it's also very dominated by like the tool.
Yeah, that's right, and that's something that I've always tried to like work with on one level, because you can't like just pretend it's not there, but try and be fluent enough that I can do what I can say what I'm trying to say, and not be completely dominated by like the presentation of it. So but I think it goes back to like just having fun, because it's with live coding, it's always you can't really present it in a serious way, because you're always gonna mess up, and there's always gonna be bugs, or like your laptop's just gonna die sometimes, or stuff just happens that means that like you can't really be all that serious about it, which I like anyway. But I think I even just try and take that further, and imagine, like, for me it's funny to imagine things like what's the equivalent of like a really over the top guitar solo, but for a live coder, because that's like funny to me. Like the idea of doing a guitar solo on stage is like, I would never do that, but I would do it like if it was entertaining. So like, what's the equivalent of that in like a live coding sense, or like other kind of like stage drama type stuff? Like, how do you fit that into a live coding context? Because if you do that, people are so surprised. Like initially, people, if they don't know it, they're surprised by live coding anyway. But then if you do some kind of like joke, or like you start messing around in a silly way with it as well, then that kind of humanizes it for me, I think, and it breaks that barrier that you get from this very strong presentation, like you were saying. But I mean, I listened to your really lovely record a lot this week, and that was fun was probably the main thing that stuck out to me. That I just hear it makes me think, God, I'm not having enough fun, in music making, because I can just hear that you guys are having so much fun, and I guess I'd really be interested to turn the question over to you and ask you about your music making and what the I guess I don't know if you're making music together as well, or you just make your own music but you've been friends for a long time, or I don't know anything. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear the background.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess it's just kind of a mixture of all the things that you just said. We've been friends for a long time, and we have made music together on many occasions. But it's it's also just been parallel to each other.
For sure. Yeah, it's been very parallel. I mean, I think we basically musically speaking grew up together in that sense, because when we first met, I think we were both very more rock type music.
Yes,
but
metal music.
Then we when we first met, I guess when we were 14 or 15 or something
14,
like that.
15, yeah.
Yeah, we started bonding over going to record stores and looking in the cheapest bins and stuff like that, and growing up on the music Kitaro and Dungeon Synth and stuff like that.
Loads of Dungeon Synth.
What is Dungeon Synth? I don't think I've come across this as a specific.
No.
Is it a genre?
It's I guess it's just kind of this.
It's an offshoot of dark ambient, I guess people would say.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
The early 90s or even the late 80s, I would say, along to alongside with black metal. Yeah,
the black metal scene in
it was some of the offshoot projects of the black metal bands. They started buying these basically just 90s workstation keyboards, the
very cheap
Casio and Casios, and also Wavestation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And composing these very medieval fantasy inspired epic sound journeys that you would I guess in a traditional the community would play them along with their Dungeons and Dragons campaigns and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's also very or a lot of Dungeons and projects are also very driven by not necessarily a strict narrative, but it's the feeling of a narrative is very it's very heavy,
Yeah. And then these recent years, it's become very popular, right? It has
very popular.
a resurgence on the internet, and
in 2016 it got very big again.
Yeah, I would say it really influenced the sound that is in Copenhagen right now.
Yeah,
to some extent.
Really,
But I guess we grew up on this really goofy synthesizer music, I would say. That for sure is one of the biggest inspirations for the stuff that we made together, but also just separately. As you said, just having fun with it, but also trying to push yourself towards something that may not be the coolest sound or the hippest thing to do, which is, for me personally, I think when you have when you make music and you want to make something that is you want to future-proof something or make something that could be a classic in 20 years or something, you always have to deviate from the stuff that is cool right now in your local scene. For example, in Copenhagen, everyone is making these ambient soundscapes, but to make something that is future-proof, you have to go for the goofy synth stuff. For example, the Kitaro records that nobody wants, and it's selling for €1 per record in the record stores.
In the bins,
and that's always a battle within myself when I make music, because there's always an urge or an instinct maybe even to go for the hip stuff and the contemporary stuff, and the stuff that your friends are making,
or maybe the stuff that you've already made for like a long time.
Yeah, for sure. But it's always very important for me, at least, to go with the uncool styles or sounds, or like the goofy stuff, or whatever you would call it.
Yeah, I think also that's been very at least I think a very vital part of our musical journey together.
Sure,
because like every time, or not every time, but a lot of instances where we've sat down and made music together, it's also been very colored by our our where we are at in our music making, and like what music we like, which is also like you said, like the best thing you can do for yourself is almost always to like do the thing that you might not think is hip at the moment, or the things that you might not find to be aesthetically pleasing in your to the music that you're doing right now. So I think that's been like a pretty good thing for at least the music we do, that we've made a lot of, or not the same music, but like follow the same style sometimes, and then you can kind of agree on evolving it, or like just maybe like you said, like just destroying it and making something completely different. At least that's how I've seen it a lot of times, like for when we've made music together, and and not together for like our own stuff. It's it's not like we're making the same music either.
I think I wonder if Greta. Oh wait, I'm getting some audio replaying back on your machine, I think. Oh no, it's okay now.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess when I heard your record, I could immediately imagine why Greta wanted to put us together a little bit. And I think that kind of goofiness is definitely, something that I've worked with a lot as well. Like, but it's just so interesting that I didn't even know about this dungeon synth thing. But I think because the goofiness that I've been playing with, maybe it's because it comes from like the same technological era of like MIDI and like cheap digital instruments.
Yeah.
'Cause my reference point with it was always more like early like browsing the web in the 90s, basically. That was really my like reference point. And I don't know if you guys even have any memories of that. I guess it's...
Yeah, I mean, we're a lot younger, so...
What's
your
web browsing memory?
There's definitely the comparison, because I think we are like inspired a lot by people, musically speaking, who were browsing the web in the 90s, and who were making music based off that. Yeah. So we're like the next the generation after that who gets inspired in turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, like, because I think also a lot of the music, there is, of course, right now a lot of music on the internet, and people who are making music on the internet and stuff going on the internet. So I think also, maybe the reason that a lot of musicians from your generation are like so inspired by this like these like internet deep dives and internet like explorations, that it's because like it might have been, or probably because it was something maybe a little bit newer. And I think it's very expected of us to like just do a lot of internet deep dives and base a lot of our stuff on that. And I think that's maybe why.
That's also another thing.
That's like
we should try to destroy.
Yeah, definitely. I think
getting off the internet is definitely a priority.
Yes.
One right now. And it always has been, all like the last many years, at least. Yeah, trying to break up with that.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, or like the scene that we're in, like musically speaking, that's definitely where the most interesting stuff appears when you get off the internet and go back to other medias, for example.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a full.
Yeah.
It's like a cycle then, right? Because you've all become interested in this genre and kind of revived it, but then in doing so, you've created like a real physical community in real space, and then that has now become its own thing, and then you want to follow where that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, definitely.
And I can imagine that maybe to some extent it was like the same feeling that artists had when they were like media artists were pioneering on the internet, for example. That it was like a free space or like a new space where it was like the new frontier where they could do anything they wanted to do. But like now it has switched around. So if you want to go to the new frontier, you have to get off the internet and do some disturbing underground stuff in real life that nobody on the internet will know about, or like nobody in Discogs will know about, or something like that.
Yeah,
like that's where the new frontier is, for us at least, I think.
Yes, I think that's very true. I think it's
I was gonna say, so like, how does that translate for you guys when you are? Do you perform together, or have you performed any of, or do you imagine like performing any of this work that you've done for this record, for One Take Records, or is the idea of like live view, is that something that would take a completely different process?
I guess it depends, because we've performed live like many times, but like not so much as our XANADUNE and Update Jammer projects. But at least like with you, one of the last concerts you played, you didn't there were almost no computers involved. That was
and that's the same point, definitely. To like try to take this stuff that is so rooted in the computer and the internet, like both technically and aesthetically, to take it out of the computer and like it sounds a bit grandiose to say breathe new life into it, but like do it in a different way that would make it more exciting also live, like for both the performer and the audience.
I think there's been like so many years now of Ableton performances live,
sure.
and that's kind of also the picture that I think maybe I'm trying to kind of corrupt the picture of this computer music concert as being only a person like deeply who's inside the computer, and that's all you see. I think that's maybe one of the just like you have with like the just like being on the internet. I think I'm kind of I think at least I'm scared if not I think I'm quite scared of not performing with my computer, and I think that's like what I'm trying to get away from, and I think you can always, a composition is a composition, right? It doesn't have to, your composition doesn't have to be an Ableton Live production, so that's maybe one of the things I want to strive away from the most. And definitely like one of the problems that I have that's most like prevalent, and also maybe not like or I guess it's a problem, like I don't think I think most people who you'll ask right now in Copenhagen, if you ask them what their last like computer music concert was like, it was probably someone with like a computer in front of them with Ableton on it or something. It's deeply rooted. So yeah, I guess that's.
Yeah. And I guess that presents like a lot of problems. Well, I don't know, maybe the music on this record is very tightly programmed and complex and intricate and like mixed in very interesting ways. There's like dialogue sometimes, and then sometimes it's very quiet and ambient, and then sometimes it's like quite dark and So just addressing this like computer problem for you, does that mean like you have to make entirely different music, or would you be looking to like deconstruct what you have at the moment and find a way to make it kind of feel more like present on stage?
I mean, I guess it's not just like I mean, I think like I said before, you know, a composition will always just be a composition, right? These are just like sounds that we've chosen from some plugins that we've had on our computer. And I think, you know, like as happy as I am about, you know, the sounds, you know, it's just always interesting to kind of destroy it and then, you know, try it in a different realm where, you know, it's not you can do anything with it that you want. And I think that's maybe the problem that, you know, I was talking about, is that, you know, that's how we just see it. We just see it as like as an Ableton project, you know.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
So yeah, one thing I've been thinking about recently is just kind of fantasizing about shows that could happen eventually. And that kind of keeps me going a little bit at the moment. And I'm just wondering, like, do you at the moment, do you have a kind of show or performance style in mind that you feel would create the kind of tension that you're looking for and get away from the problems that you've been talking about?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, lately I've been trying to like take everything out from the computer and like destroy everything. So I would want to go completely from, what do you say? From scratch. That's what I was looking for. And like, maybe doing something that is not so, what could you say? Not so like grandiose that it can get on the computer, because you have so many like options to deal with, and you have all the tools at your disposal. So like going completely down to basics, and like going for a smaller sound, I guess, but it's not so anything like very specific so far, I guess. I mean, I'm working completely without a computer right now. I destroyed my computer, and we'll see how I'll do it. I mean, it's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah.
If you had to like perform in say 1 month's time, and it was gonna be like a really cool show, like you were excited about it, there was no problems with like talent or anything.
I think what you should do as a computer musician, or what would be very interesting for most computer musicians, is like letting your own computer go, if you're computer based, and then going to your friends' houses and using their computers. And that's basically what I'm doing right now. And I think that would be so cool to bring like just all my friends who has this editing software up on stage. Like I could imagine like a line of them with their editing software, and then you get all the options and like all the nitpicking, and because I always get very like OCD with the audio editing and this kind of software. Then you take it out of your own hands and just like focus on the more creative stuff, I guess. But it also creates a very interesting dynamic, I think, because it depends on your setup, but like I think many computer musicians are used to working alone, just on their software. But once you put it in someone else's hands, it creates this pretty interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
So like swapping laptops.
Yeah. Or like
It already makes me incredibly terrified, so it must be a good idea.
Yeah. That's also like, I think that's maybe one of the I think also like one of the problems I'm having a lot with like being dependent on like my Ableton software, my softwares in general, is that like it gets
once you get
just like nitpicky.
stuck in that, it gets so unproductive.
Yes, and it gets I think I very often find myself in a spot where I've sat down for like a long period of time, and there's like been no drive. My like the composition hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been nitpicking and these like production minimal production like bugs that I find in a track. So yeah.
So with the records on one take, how much does that represent like you both fighting with the computer, or like fighting with the nitpicking?
You want to go first? Well, I can do it.
I don't think it's that representative of that mindset because I think a lot of the tracks were very the production on it was very nitpicky and was very OCD.
Yeah, and I think, as I said before, it's always this battle within yourself, like fighting against the urge to go with like the sound of the times, or just like to lose yourself in the programming the MIDI clips or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, personally speaking, for my side of the tape, I think like most of the tracks was from like 2018, 2019-ish, to early 2019. So like I feel like I'm getting better at like fighting the urge to go the easy route.
Yeah.
So I definitely fight more against that now, and I think that's also definitely something you can see in the music. Yeah. Because my side is like this very, as you said, like tight, sequenced, like dance, electronics, sound. And I think it definitely would sound different if I did it now. And also just like with the stuff I have going in my hands, I feel like I'm at a completely different place, musically, and like just I have different stuff in my hands now.
Yeah. I don't feel like I would want to. I don't like if I hear one of the tracks that we've put on our tape, I don't feel like I would want to produce something like that again, because also like I think my tracks are also like some of them are like a couple of years old too. Like
so in that respect, it's also like a timeline of. I also think like all musical journey together.
Yes, I think so.
Which sounds kind of corny, but that's a good light to put it in, I guess.
Yeah. Which is also like, which is
why I also think it works as a split tape.
Yeah, I think it works really well. It's like I think it's a good way. It was a good way for us to do that. Because
So you kind of captured the moment where it seems like very maximalist. Like you chose the extreme in every decision like that you could make. You went to the extreme.
I think so. Definitely.
And is that also about like using all of the computer's kind of abilities as well?
I don't know, maybe.
It's probably come out of those problems that I also talked before about, and I guess that's also like must be one of the nice things about coding and like coding in a live situation, that you're so much more restricted, like in the moment that you're doing it. I guess I wouldn't know. Yeah,
it's kind of like different. You're restricted in some ways, and then you're kind of free in other ways. In like lots of different ways. So it's not really something that I could easily like quickly summarize. But there's
like the possibility that your computer crashes, or that you mistype like a line, a sequence or something. Yeah.
Right.
And everything is in your production.
Yeah. Yeah. But then on the other hand, you can just like very quickly change the structure of everything with like one function or something in a way that is just like not possible with like an Ableton project or something. So yeah, you do get it's not all pain. There's definitely a lot of pain.
But it's good with the pain.
Yeah. You need to find something that you enjoy.
But you still think it kind of lacks unpredictability, or?
I think that really comes down to like how you like your own custom like setup, because you can make it completely predetermined if you want, or like you can set it up so that you're very unlikely to have anything like go wrong. But for me, that really takes all of the fun out of it, and I don't like, for example, I don't practice that much, because if I practice too much, then I'm already bored by the time I get on stage.
Yeah.
And I can't get into it. So there's like the perfect amount of practice where you know roughly what you're gonna do, but there's enough unexplored territory that you can kind of get lost in it when you actually perform.
Yeah. So you said before that like you're kind of looking at like ways that you could kind of destroy your practice right now. Like, do you think maybe like finding your own practice would be kind of influenced by, taking away some of the safety that that you have in your live coding, because it also like you have now, after all, you have quite a lot of years of practice in your praxis. So like what do you think it could be? What could be the thing that removes the safety?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I'm on like a basic level. There's kind of like, you're always like attracted to the thing that you don't have access to. So with live coding, the main thing that I've never really managed to kind of get full access to is like tactility and like detailed timbre, like the quality of sound, because live coding is very like event driven in a MIDI kind of way.
Yeah.
You're just triggering events that play notes or samples and so on. Yeah. So, and then obviously like for your body, you're very much like locked into a very small physical space, and you can't really kind of communicate much with the audience like in body language, and your hands can't really do anything else apart from like move in front of you. So I'm really I really want to, I guess in a similar way like last time, how I wanted to move away from audio workstations but kind of keep the kind of music vaguely, like keep the kind of, I don't know, silliness of the music and the fun, and this time I think I want to like somehow find a way to take with me like the algorithmic expression, which I think is really like unique, and I wouldn't want to lose that, like the ability to kind of like control time using algorithms. I think is somehow that's like part of me now. But yeah, I want to have a much more tactile, hands-on relationship with the sound, and I want to be able to like do more with my body, I think. And that's definitely like a big challenge, because I'm quite like a uncoordinated person, and I started out playing guitar, but I stopped because I don't have very good like fine motor skills, or like I'm just not like that kind of person. But that's kind of what I'm attracted to now. Like I've been doing a PhD the last 5 years and building like kind of physical new kind of physical interfaces for like ways of manipulating sounds that are more like tactile and hands-on. So I don't it's not very concrete for me yet, but it's something I can picture it like doing like having some kind of devices that maybe they're like attached to my hands, or they're like fixed on my body, and I touch the devices as they're fixed on my body, and then I'm free to move around, and there would be no screen anywhere, so that I can like make eye contact with the audience or whatever, but somehow still be doing some kind of live coding, like making algorithmic music. So I don't really know how that can even really exist at this point. Like, how do you write code without text or without any kind of visual representation and so on? So that's something I've been thinking about for a long time. But I still don't have like I think I'll need to like build lots of prototypes or something, which is kind of what I was saying about like fantasizing about shows that might be possible.
So your practice is also like evolving.
And Leeds was about music technology and electronics, and then I was working for this company called Rolly, who make this seaboard instrument for a couple of years, and then after that I started on the PhD, and the PhD has mostly been about like the idea of subtlety and detail in digital musical instruments, and kind of like how do you take digital making processes and make them more like handcrafting processes.
It's also very much what computer music can do to you, is that you can feel like it's, or not computer music, but like music on your laptop, it can feel a lot like you're not holding it, or like it's not physical. It can like distance you from what you're making.
That's funny though, because for me, like over time, like the algorithms definitely become like
A part of you.
something that I feel in quite a deep way, but it's not like a corporeal way. It's not like this algorithm's in this hand and this algorithm's in this hand or something. There's no. It's like inside somewhere, but it's not something that like directly relates to my physical body. So I almost want to like kind of like find ways of letting it express itself.
Yeah.
The music within. Cool.
Hey,
Where are we up
this
to?
is
Greta, did you want to come in and like say anything?
I
Or,
thought
like-
I would just I'll come in and say thank you for these amazing conversations. And I'm not
Is there
sure
any-
if we should wrap it up or if you have some final.
Well, I was going to ask you, Greta, like, is there anything that you like thought that we would already have touched on, or like that you think that we should touch on that we haven't kind of explored yet?
I would say absolutely not. I think I really just wanted this conversation to happen, and it happened in an amazing way. So for me, there's no points that I would like to bring up, but it was really amazing and interesting to hear you talk together. So
It was really fun too.
Yeah, and I'm gonna like spend the weekend listening to Dungeon Synth. For sure.
great. But then
I'll just be catching up.
I'll say thank you so much to XANADUNE and Update Jammer and Lil Data for joining on this first episode of One Take Records in conversation with, and we will continue the series. So
Looking forward to it.
stay
Yes.
tuned. Yeah,
Thanks,
and
Greta.
thank you so much, and thanks to everyone tuned in also.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks for watching.